Greetings. My name is Mayhem Mike, content creator and co-host of The Last Stop on the L, Geeks Unlimited, Heirogeekicks, and The Game Shop. Recently, I took part in an impromptu 6-person conversation touching base on a variety of cultural issues within the Black community. After 3 hours of stimulating and introspective conversation, I felt it was important to share our views with the world. That said, I would like to formally introduce you to Understanding Us, a 4-episode series highlighting modern-day civil rights issues, Black women, and interracial relationships. In the last episode of Understanding Us, we wrap up our 3-hour conversation by talking about the leadership in the Black community in general, money, and celebrity support. There's so many topics I wanted to talk about. There's so many things you touched upon. I still feel like we need leadership because out of all the things that you've said, besides forgiveness when it comes to people of color, Black people particularly, the one thing we fault at is we don't have the bravado. We don't have the courage to have somebody speak out. My thing is 3 people. I'll go into that another time. But obviously, we have 3 different organizations that's constantly speaking out. We can defund the police, for sure. But we need to have a system in place where it's like, okay, if we're going to keep the police in charge, we need to keep different sections. Like there's one that deals with actual crime. There's one that deals with mentally disturbed. That gets them out of their subways from flashing women and approaching all this other stuff and threatening people with knives. Okay, and there's others that deal with other less threatening crimes or offenses. So now, boom, boom, but that's just 3. That's not the 3 I'm talking about, but that's just 3 sections and we can go into that. Okay, leadership as far as nationwide. What are we doing to show people that we are people that to be equal and also to be like, what's the best way to say this? To be feared. Because you're 100% right. It's a capitalistic country. If you don't have money, what are you really saying to me? If you can't fight me in court, what are you saying to me? If you don't know the people that I know, what are you saying to me? But I guarantee you, if I could take the same 13%, and let's say I take 10% of that, the money away from you, then what? Then you know I'm a problem. Now, obviously, you look at some of the activists when they started talking economic and financial gains, for some reason they went bye-bye. You understand? They were murdered. They weren't killed. They didn't die. They were murdered. And we kind of like, and history is just like kind of smooths it over in a sense. So, I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's anybody here. I don't know if it's somebody that we know, but we need activists to be that front so that we can be.
After I have my kid,
okay.
If it's not that, then a centralized situation where it's not so many places you can look for resources. If we're not gonna.
Agreed. We have social media.
But if we're not gonna have an actual leader, we need an actual center for resources.
I believe.
Go and give and donate and this and this and that. There's so many places you're going and you're dividing. It's like, where do you go? Oh, you can go here, you can give here, you can give here, you can give here. And it's not centralized.
Can I say one thing to that?
Because of that, it's like, I don't think because of, like you said, the leader thing, when you put that person on a pedestal, it's going to give,
it's gonna give
spotlight, everything.
Yeah,
yes.
Even if it's not the exposure from the outside, it's the exposure
Who's your
from the
inside?
inside.
Thank you
what
for.
happened to Malcolm X? So it's just like, people feel like,
Fred Hampton, look at that.
yeah, just like it's just too many, he's trying to be bigger than what he is. No, he's trying to improve and progress what it is, but people are just envious of being the ignorance of he's trying to take over. So because of that, I think a lot of people don't want that ideal person to look for guidance, but we need to have a resource, one central source to get that guidance from. And I think that makes sense. Like someone could start, she could start a march, and then she invited her friends, and it becomes whatever, and then she has a march. Why are we gonna have these marches? Why can't we?
Thank you.
And that's the thing.
Thank you.
There's too many chiefs, and we should have just one central source to get certain things in different cities, different areas.
I agree. No, you're 100% correct.
Yeah.
I agree. There's way too many chefs over this one pot.
Yeah.
So I believe, for me, it's the 3. Because everybody wants a militant leader.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a kind of a liberal leader and kind of a in between, right? And my whole thing is just if we can kind of keep the numbers odd, whatever we're voting on or whatever action we're called, it's gonna happen. It's not going to be delayed.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's recognize that even the Black Panther Party, which we all idolize to some extent, there were federal agents. Right, that Black Panthers didn't know until years later. So somebody's gonna get bought out or just turncoat on us. But the whole point is, if we have a secure system involved, that we can be a substantial power to make them not necessarily fear us, but respect us. Because I hate to say this, but look at like the Hasidic Jews or Orthodox Jews, right, who were able to like open up the parks before it was given the okay. But if we had done that, locked up, and people think we're like exaggerating. Like once you're like 14 and you're able to cross the street, you're a thug, you're a criminal. This is logistics. Like, you understand? Like, you go from being cute to being a predatory person. Overnight, exactly. And even then, sometimes in the same breath. Real talk, depending on who you're talking with. New York has to deal with the cops that cost us taxpayers, because you're black and you definitely pay taxes, millions of dollars, who do crimes against us, and the police is just like, you know what? Yeah, we're fine. We doing the law. But like, stop and frisk, really? That's ethical? To say the least? But you feel like because you have a badge, you're doing your job. So there's obviously, to say the least, there's obviously something misconstrued in that message.
That's crazy.
Wait. Go.
I'm just saying, like, a big part of our community, the problem is that we just lack the structure and the unity. Because I think it's ridiculous that within the Jewish community, if they want to sit here and they want to buy this, if they want to change this neighborhood into their neighborhood, they come and they go to the mall and say, hey,
to the extent,
they're
still not wearing masks.
Give me money, and then they come and they buy up the whole shit.
Oh, they're not selling to us.
And then
But they have an advantage a huge advantage that we haven't had
even if we
or have gotten
haven't
yet.
had it, even if it's
But who's in our communities?
$50, $100, the community can pool. The problem with black people is that we've gotten to a comfortable point whereas we feel like we're good enough that we don't have to help.
Yeah.
So
That's what I want to talk about. Yes.
if you're good, you're good. Well, they don't really concern us. So the pooling aspect of
We don't bring each other up when we get up. There's the crab in the barrel mentality. Listen, if I become a millionaire, don't get me wrong, I'm not out here giving money to everybody. Come with me with a business plan, and let's push some of these people out, because nothing against Asian people, nothing against people of South Asian descent, whatever, but y'all are in our communities for a reason. We spend money. How many corner stores are black owned? How many Chinese stores, laundromats? Yes.
We was trying to open up like a hair, what you call it?
Beauty salon, nail salon,
No, like supply store. Yeah, it's like a beauty supply store.
Oh, beauty supply. Okay.
Oh my God! Do you understand how the Asians own that market so much, and they put the price down so low? For us to even open it and get products, we have to go through them, even though it's catered to us. So and even if you wanted to open it up, they priced the market towards us so high, it wouldn't even make sense, because 2 blocks down, there's an Asian beauty supply store. They can get their products so easy and so cheap that it wouldn't even make sense to us. You know what I'm saying? We have to go through them to get our own shit.
But
And
see,
It's crazy because you look at how money moves around within communities. Like I unfortunately have a Indian business partner, and him and his family are friggin' loaded and crazy. But the money, it's a family billionaire business, $1 billion business within a family. And it's like, when I look at it and I learn this history, I know him for years, and I'm like, shit, the money that goes around in that family is, you're borrowing money from your own family, you're buying products from your own family. You're just, only thing you're doing is catering to a market that you're just collecting revenue to build within the family. Jewish people do that, and they bring the money 18 times more, 16 times, 17 times in Asian, all the communities. Black people, less than one. I don't think it lasts a day. The minute a black person gets money, before the end of the day is gone, the money's gone. So we gotta look at how
towards another black business.
Another black business, right?
I'm definitely going to change your voice on this. Go ahead.
I think it stems from our desire to buy our way into equality.
I love that.
We're constantly trying to prove something that we're not.
That's why we always have to fly as Jordans, we always have to fly as gear, because we always want to look good and be good, to show them that we are equal to you, and that's how we gain our strong purchasing power.
Wow.
Right.
If we were to invest that same
Remember when
money
you said
and not
knockoffs?
buy
We don't buy knockoffs to an extent.
We don't. We don't. We don't.
We don't.
And that's a good point. For what? Because what it is,
They're not supporting us.
It's just bringing that money within our communities. I don't know if you guys saw that Killer Mike special on Netflix, but he speaks about the Trigger Mike. He
Yes,
tried to
did
buy
that.
everything black owned, and he had to sleep
hard.
on a fucking. It
Yeah,
was
on a bench,
hard.
on a bench.
He sleep on a bench because there's no hotels, there's no food, there's no way. He got weed from his guy, but it's like all that other stuff is like, yo, it's insane. That's why I incorporate it in what I do, because this is how we need to be able to create things. Like we talk about all the time, like creating about an establishment for young minds to be able to develop and be creative, so that they can be able to have their if it's jobs or if it's careers that they're trying to get into, where they can keep that structure within our own community to really build wealth and strength.
It's like a young person, right? Say if they don't want to go to college or they get out of college. Like the white people or some different people, they can go back home and work for their family.
Mm-hmm.
With us, 9 times we don't have that. So you'll end up working for another type of person just to make it.
Yeah.
If we had our own business, like even if it's a laundromat or a cleaning supplies store or whatever, or like a cleaning business, if you get out of school or you're not going to run out of college, at least you're working with the business, with your family, and you're bringing that money back, and you're actually, and if you want to branch off into your own thing,
Let me say
at least
something.
you don't have to jump out the window.
Let me say
with debt
something.
or different things.
Let me say something.
Hand up.
Let me say something now.
Hand
When you
up.
finish your thought. Finish your thought. No, because I agree with you. We don't have that structure, but it's not like we can't. Because let's just say for whatever ethnicity or race is in our community, that's, let's say, offering 5 cents per service, we can offer lower and still make that money, so long as we support that business. We can drive every other business out and then move our prices up to an extent so that we all make money, and but the problem is we don't have leadership, we don't have unity, we don't have direction.
No, but I'm saying even within your own family, you don't even have where it's like, okay,
Agreed.
I can't find a job. Can I work for Uncle Joe freaking cleaning carpets because he has his own company, or he's a company, like he just cleans furniture, or he just provides this or provides that. We don't have something like that to fall back on. So by the time you're like 20, whatever, you're like strung on, like I can't get a job because this is how I look and this is how I can't be accepted on who I am, so I end up selling drugs or doing whatever. Where like a person, a white person, be like, oh,
hold on, because I got you right now.
Mom and dad, so because of that, I can be myself.
Right.
I can work for mom and dad doing absolutely nothing, but we're keeping the money in, and you don't have to feel like, oh my God,
keeping the money within our community is so simple. From watching YouTube videos of a certain content creator, there goes the video, to a point where I used to live in Canarsie, and there's a lot of buildings for sale. We can come together, and not just Canarsie, which is like a middle average, community in a sense, like average salary community, you know what I'm saying, middle class, thank you very much. So we can go to the hood, the neighborhoods we all know, and we can definitely, I like how they're moving the camera around, we can definitely support that and buy everybody out. You mean to tell me that you can't learn, let's say, the Chinese or Asian delicacies and offer more? You can't learn how to wash clothing and reward black.
It's silly. Like, I'm in the process right now of getting a gas station. I'm in the process of getting a liquor store. Because when I look at it right now, I'm looking at all this shit. I'm like, it's Asian, Indian, all over the place. And they're in our community. So I'm like, fuck that. I'm going to get into this because I can be able to be a beacon of hope and inspiration. But more importantly, it's money that will be able to, because what they do is they use the money from the laundromats, from the gas stations, from the liquor stores, from the corner stores now.
Chinese.
And our Dominican brothers and sisters are learning that too, because they're controlling the entire supermarket market right now. They're buying that shit out right now. And they saw, oh wow, this is what you do. Hair salons too.
Well, not even that, but like if you look at a supermarket right now, between Key Food, what's the other one?
Key Food, Food Town,
Associated.
Shop right now in some areas, and then they have their own, like Cherry Valley and all these little small
They're
local.
all owned by Dominicans or whatever, and then because when they, they have that and they come in and they work with each other and all this other stuff,
That's crazy.
which is so crazy. And then I guess also like a lot of people come here because they have that foundation and they work on that. But also a lot of black people, like a lot of like people come in, they'll be on somebody's couch for a year, they work within the business, and then they branch out and they get their little corner store, their 7-Eleven or their McDonald's, where black people don't want to have to struggle in order to get all that stuff. And that's an issue too.
So,
like for you to, though, if you're working and you're keeping it within the business, like the family, and then once you get enough money or whatever type of lineage to actually go to a bank and get whatever, or just know that knowledge to do that. So you can open up your own 7-Eleven or Dunkin' Donuts and all this other shit. Why is every Dunkin' Donuts owned by the Indians?
Okay.
And I see that firsthand, because I've been dealing with this for years, especially with all those dudes. And all of that is a learning experience for me to understand how I need to move with certain things. But when I look at it, it's the simplicity of what it does to get them to get funding, for them to get different situations.
Thank you.
My business partner has an apartment building where he has 20 people a month coming from Nepal that would barely get in here with their visas. They stay in an apartment. They work odd jobs within the businesses that they do. And they get all their education, they get all the money they make, and then they're opening another business that's under them.
The crazy thing is we're doing this. Yes. We're already when you come up from whatever island, from whatever country, whatever continent you come from, and you live in that apartment or whatever bedroom you're, your family bought that house and allow other family members to take over in a sense. What are we doing? We're doing the same thing. We buy the house, we rent it out. The problem is we're not expanding. We're not furthering the information to you, to whatever, whoever will listen. We don't have that community leadership.
And here's a scary part.
Yes, sir.
To that, you have here's the scary part I think of. We got the Jay-Z's in the world, the Kanye's in the world, the Floyd Mayweather's in the world, hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars of net worth that they have at their level that can be able to do what Facebook has done and say, I can give my entire net worth when I die and still be good, to not be in the development of helping your own kind continue to progress. And it's scary because it's like, I know if I'm at that level, what is, to your point earlier, when I'm at that level, how am I triggering not to do that?
Jay-Z, I can say,
Jay-Z has done different. Right.
Jay-Z said less is more. There's plenty of us. That speaks volumes.
Even still?
He said because he's not the person to post and all that other stuff, but he's done. He's done.
I've said this.
But at the same time, even if you've done a lot, my thing is, whoever, if I give you $1 million, what are you doing under you, or what are you doing as well? Because it also, you can trickle it down. What if he can't filter it, keep going down? It's like, what else? You can build whatever foundation.
Is he responsible for that though? Is he responsible for putting Meek Mill on a track, giving him millions just to do nothing? When was the last time you heard anything from Meek Mill?
But he has 3 kids, so you should want to.
Okay, but forget that. We don't forget that.
Like, oh, that's not my job. That's new shit, whatever.
But we don't need him. How about that? Don't get me wrong. I'm not being ungrateful to what he's done, whether in secret or publicly. We don't need him.
I disagree because I think that in order to move, in order to play the game, you need to have dollars. And if someone's going to be, listen, if someone comes up to us right now and say, listen, I'm going to give $100 million worth of any project,
I hear you.
Lift ourselves,
I hear you.
Bring money
I hear you 100%. But if somebody, let's just say, because I'm from Canarsie, I grew up in Canarsie. I was raised in Crown Heights. I grew up in Canarsie. If somebody in Canarsie who's well-to-do came together and purchased their own black bank, because let's not act like they don't give us fucked up loan rates. They don't, only us, because they don't. Right. So, but if we created our own bank, and we all supported that bank, we wouldn't necessarily need you. Don't get me wrong. Thank you for the publicity. Thank you for showing the movement. Thank you for your help. But also in New York, let's just say, we got a bank. We have a community. This is what we're doing. You come from the South, you come from the Midwest, wherever, we got you.
But here's the scary part. There's 16
owned
banks that are out in the world today.
I agree.
And here's the scary part.
How many people know about that?
Not much. And how many people bank with them? And more importantly, what things do they do within their own communities? No one's Black Wall Street. No, there's not Black Wall Street communities except for Maryland. Maryland's one of the biggest, richest black.
They tried to do Black Wall Street again.
Yeah.
Actually, Game tried to do Black Wall Street again. Mm-hmm. He actually named his thing Black Wall Street, and then it just didn't work.
Well, I think Kanye's doing that now. All that
heavily.
Okay, allow me to say this publicly. I need more receipts on Kanye. But once again, I don't want to facts. But I don't want to necessarily. Although I said we need leadership, and I'm going to let you talk. I'm sorry. Right.
It should be him.
But
you're not woke no more.
Right. Because we're both avid Kanye followers. But whatever the case may be, we don't necessarily need him to push that envelope. You understand? We need people level. Like here on the ground with us. You know how they feel like the general, you talk all this shit, you haven't been in the actual battle in a sense. We need people who are constantly in the streets. Although I understand that's not necessarily the case with all generals, so I get it. So before let me that right there. But currently, right now, we need people who's like, yeah, I grew up in Brownsville. Yeah, I grew up in East New York. I grew up in the 90s, wherever, and I purchased this house. You can too. Let's come together. Let's just say make our own bank, and let's make sure we finance everybody. It's going to be tough. Maybe the first generation. Let's be real, the first generation. But afterwards, we're going to show we don't need it. And what's going to happen is, all of a sudden, I'm going to black this out, but like, say, Chase, who is offering you like a 6% loan, is going to be like, oh, let me offer you a 2%, 2.5, the 6%, because they see that now we said, fuck you, we're going to them. We don't have that continuous strength. And any of the products and any of the services that we do in our communities, just aura-wide. Like Jackiana, I love her to death. Jackie Aina. Even though I'm a male and I feel like the makeup doesn't necessarily come to me, I need to be supporting her and others like her. 100%. Just side note, like, one of the things this is my personal moral, is like, when it comes to dating black women, I feel like black women deserve a good date at all times. A good date doesn't mean like, hey girl, I bought you that lobster. You know what I'm saying?
Cheddar biscuits.
You know what Beyonce said when I buy you a lobster, cheddar, right?
Fucking
biscuits. You know what I'm saying? Like, no.
And Beyonce's a lie.
I'm not gonna, the beehive is gonna come for you, but I feel you.
Shake my hand.
But at the same time, the way we respect each other, the way we treat each other should be on a level where it's like, you know what? The Orthodox Jews, the Hasidic Jews aren't doing that or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, because we're empowering our people. We're still starting from scratch to an extent. We're still and the reason why I say that is because there are a lot of business owners that we may know of, that we are per se, but how many of us are expanding to our community? How many can say, like, yo, in Flatbush, I talked to this gentleman right here, although he may be in, let's say, a gang affiliation, this man knows how to code. This man knows how to run a business. This man, and that's the extreme.
You're not about
sir.
They are hustlers.
They're all hustlers. They're the best hustlers.
Salespeople.
Sales.
At the end of the day, even if they hand to hand or they're different things, like my nephew, like, he's not a drug dealer, but he's into making beats. But he is now, because of Robinhood, all these apps, he's a trader. Like, he doesn't have a license to trade, but he knows about stocks and he gets into it. He's on it every day. He's like on it. And the thing is, like, these young kids, they're on it, and it's just like, you wouldn't think they're that.
But they're not being taught how to run their business.
You're right, but he doesn't know how to run a business. But at least he has that. And
Agreed.
He needs guidance.
It's a great guidance.
Like, he knows someone that's busy, savvy, and they can work together to do something.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, like, a lot of people look at these kids, it's like, oh, you're just doing this, you're playing Fortnite, or you're like doing
5 million, was it right? 5 million?
Yeah, or you just doing, what's that shit Mike Porter does?
Apex,
TikTok,
Call of Duty, TikTok.
No, the game thing.
Minecraft.
Oh.
All this stuff is really coding. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's in Black Girls Code and all this stuff. And you look at, oh, you're playing video games, or you're just making beats, or you're just online. All that is like, you're learning that on your own. And that's not even being taught by a secondary person, but you just need to be paired up. You need to be guided into doing this and bringing it somewhere else. Even if you tell this mom, like, oh, put this investment in there, and his mom's like, oh, that's a waste of time.
No,
it's not. That's the problem. Like, no one's taking these people seriously, or no one knows what to do with that to make it into whatever.
Say that again. Nobody knows what to do with it. That's that generational ignorance.
My parents didn't know.
Yeah.
My parents didn't know for YouTube.
They still don't.
They're still about working their tails off. If you work hard enough, you'll get it.
I guarantee you, if any of us here have the opportunity to put back in our neighborhoods, educational wise, there'll be a different growth. I honestly feel like we're going to the 90s. Let me show you how to run a business instead of being on the corner. Yeah. Instead of being with whatever.
You're running a business.
Right, you're running a business illegally. But like, if I were to show you, like,
you're still running a business.
Right, like, I'm gonna block this out. Fuck all that shit. What about Susu? What about Susu?
Susu's already now. That's a classic one.
And
you know about the new Susu shit now, right?
Which is a scam.
Boy, who's currently in the same Susu, who's on my podcast, talks about moving stocks, penny stocks or whatever. How many of us know that? My middle school taught that, and then they shut that shit down. So how many of us know that? And then when we're telling each other about that information, how many of us are receptive to that?
It's true. It's like
Because we're just like, nah, just go work for Con Ed, Keyspan, you'll be fine. Just invest in their 401k or whatever, you'll be fine. You don't have to worry about that. But mind you, currently, if you're in a 401k or whatever, stocks are down.
Oh, hell yeah.
Unless you're nickel, platinum, whatever the mix our coins, unless you're investing in that, good luck.
Decrease my contributions to $10 a month.
But the problem is, you didn't know that personally, not you per se, but other people didn't know to do that until it was too late. So when we hit this pandemic and we're like, all right, we know we have 22,000, or let's say whatever, and then we look at it, it's like, oh, 15,000. What happened? I don't understand. What happened to the $7,000?
Let me go in there.
What happened to my $7,000?
Right. Because you still want your bills to be paid. You still want your bills to be paid.
So
money's just not out of nowhere.
going back to the crab in a barrel mentality. I don't care how successful you are. You can be the top of the top or just barely making it. You need to be putting back in your community, and that's what we don't have. Excuse me, this is not my table, and I shouldn't be slapping it like that.
How do you think is the best way to contribute outside of the susu?
So here's
besides the secret.
So what I'm doing, what's important to me is that I have a business, and I'm trying to support not only my family but what I can do for my extended family and how to do that stuff. So yeah, right now I have a tremendous amount of resources, tremendous amount of people who can educate from either financial literacy, how to manage on all aspects, real estate, being an artist, all the different things. And right now, like, my focus is that, all right, I have to continue to build this. I have a client, I'm working hopefully with different clients going forward. But how do I build this to a point where it can be a tool for anybody who wants to become anything that they want to be, especially because you can't stop what the world is giving right now. You have great sports figures that are still going to come out. You're going to have great actors that are still going to come out. You're going to have all these people who are creative and designers and artists, but they're going to be inspiring people to do things. And how do you get your step 1, your step 2, your step 3? And honestly, like, one thing I'm looking at is continuing to build this consultancy firm so that it's a brick and mortar spot where people can come to be able to learn about artistry, learn about aspects of business, learn about different things that they feel are important for them to be educated on, given tools to use it, and then also that little bit of a nudge to get there. Because you have that ability with funding to be able to get people their first break for whatever they want to do. And if it's not that, if they just want to be a good contributor of society, they get the education about who they are, and what's important to them, understanding the right history, knowing how to be able to sustain a family and all that shit like that. That's the type of facility that I'm trying to be able to create. But you have to start by, I think I have great knowledge and resources, and I have a plan. I'm going, and I'm not there yet. But it's about along that way educating anyone that I can be able to that I can within the scope of my control.
Question: if you're not there yet, how are you going to get other people there?
You have to, because listen, it's I believe it's a mentality. Like my mentality, I was born and raised in Brownsville, and lived over here. I lived here, all this different shit, and it's like all the shit that I've seen. Like between people getting killed and my friends going all different directions. But I went to college. Not to say that it's supposed to be important, but my mentality of what I wanted to do was to do things for myself, my life, for my success.
But I also told him, that's your mentality.
Exactly, that's true.
And that's the thing. Like, you have to realize you got to meet people where they're at.
Right. And
try to give them resources and help where it can benefit them, and hopefully it will trickle down. If not, until, like, I want to open up, like, a community center and actually education for all type of aspects, even if it's for health, for young women, for, financial, for spiritual, for this, like, being. It's like protecting. The thing is, like, it's so sad because it's like the pipeline to whatever, Joe. Right. Black women are the heart of what it is. Like, women in general, what it is. So if we're not protected or understood or listened to, it's gonna break down. And if you want to be dating and making children, and like you said, the 1%, I'm not totally about pro-black, you got to be that. But if you're not at least respecting what you came from and understanding where that comes from, you're not going to sustain or help the next generation. So So when it comes to me, that's what I used to teach, and I have young people around me and my family and other people. That's great to have that. It's like you need the capital. Like you need the capital, the backing, because without it, you can't be at. In order to play poker, you have to have the chips. We don't have the chips to play, so you need to have the people to play. To like the money to play those games or just to be a part of the conversation. But and if you don't have it, just be educated. Correct. So when you get the resources, you know what to do with it. Right. And that's what I'm trying to make as well.
You said a very important. Thank you to everyone who participated and listened to this 6-person impromptu conversation. This conversation was bigger than any of us. It will forever leave me with a sense of pride and duty to have been a part of it. I really hope by sharing it with you, the viewer, talks are had and movements are further along to help solving the issues that we spoke about. Who knows? We may do it again very soon. But until then, I'm Mayhem Mike, and this has been Understanding Us.